Hey there, my friends. Welcome back to the shop here at Markelly Farm. We're going to do a fun project today. We're going to make one of these little sewing machine tractors again. So stick around. It's going to be fun. So you remember the last one we built, I gave that to my cousin. She's got it displayed in her restaurant there. She really likes it. Well, one of the guys I go to coffee with requested that I make one for him. So I said, sure, fun stuff. But he wants the Farmall version. We painted the other one John Deere colors. So we've got a couple machines here that we picked up at auction for like 50 cents. So we're going to get one going and put one together for him. So this is the machine we're going to use. We've already started stripping some parts off of it here. We've got a lot more parts up underneath to get off of there. We're going to basically strip this thing down pretty slim before we start putting things back together. It had an electric motor bolted onto the side as well that we'll use for the motor on this old tractor here that we're going to make. But really cool. This one even... steering wheel even spins on this one. So let's start stripping this baby down. Well, folks, look at this crazy mess of parts. Man, that took a lot. So now we can start putting a few pieces back on. We can put this side plate back on and then start figuring out what we're going to use again. We're going to use a lot of these pieces, putting this thing back together, reconfiguring the whole thing to make it look like a tractor. Putting this thing back together a little bit, I got curious because this felt a little light. And I tried to stick a magnet to it. Wouldn't stick. This whole thing is cast aluminum. But there is steel parts. This is steel. That up there is steel. So it's just going to make it a little more difficult because a lot of this stuff now has got to be screwed on here or bolted on here. But I think we can still get it done. Okay, we got the motor mounted underneath here. All we did was drill a hole in the front, put that shaft in there. The guineas are all excited out there. And then I drilled and tapped a hole here for this bracket. So we've got that on. So what I think I'm going to do now is take this plate. It's got matching bolt holes here. I think we'll flip it around and cut it off. So there's like a floor plate here in the back. So let's try to get that done. I think rather than use the original plate, I'm going to use a piece of steel and drill this bolt pattern in here. That way I could weld to this when we do the rear axles and all that. That's going to make that part a whole lot easier. Got our holes drilled, got our piece put on. It's the perfect width. So let's turn this thing up and figure out some wheels and axles and all that for the rear. So I think what we're going to use for our tires are these old seed plates for a planter. They make good steel wheels. And I just put them on a piece of all thread. And then we'll tack these together because these are face to face here. And then that height looks about right for a tractor. So I think what we'll do is we'll get a piece of pipe that fits over this 1/2 inch all thread because we don't want that showing. And then we'll figure out some kind of mount. Maybe we'll cut this plate, bring a plate up and then a plate forward for the floor deck. And then we can weld some stuff on here to the back. We'll weld that pipe underneath there to where it's nice and clean. And I think that'll look good. It's already looking like a tractor, isn't it? Pretty slick. We'll figure out whether to run those forward or back, see where it looks the best. I think that's too far back there. Run it all the way forward and see what that looks like. I think that's too far forward. So about right there, I think. And then I got these old metal wheel small casters, but I think those are going to be too small for the front tires. But we'll figure something out. But it's dark and it's supper time, so we'll see you out here again tomorrow. Well, we've had a busy couple days. We went to the Festival of Lights in town last night, took the Cub and the wagon. We'll show you a little video of that. It was pretty cool.
State Bank and Trust is proudly serving Custer County as your dedicated local bank. Whether it's a new car, an ad loan, or even a new home for your...
So if you remember last time we made this plate to go across the bottom, we got more to do with that. But before I do that, I had this little metal caster wheel in our hardware pile. We're going to use that for the front wheel because that's about the right height. But this thing's really wide here. I think I'm going to cut this down, make it more narrow. We'll cut these tabs off. We'll probably cut some more of this off here, make it a lot smaller, put it on a diet. All right, I think that wheel's going to work good. It's the right size and the right height. It's just sitting under there now is why it's crooked. I'm going to put some bolts up through a couple holes that are in the bottom. So that'll give me some metal to weld to. And we'll weld this front wheel on. We won't worry about it spinning around. Now we're going to work on the back axle. I'm going to cut a piece of pipe to cover this all thread. And then we'll weld it to these nuts, and then these nuts can still spin. Got our axle made, so now we need to create a riser. So we'll figure out where this axle goes. We'll cut this plate flush with the back of the axle. We'll weld a plate up this way, and then we'll put like a floor plate right here that'll go up into there. So let's figure out where to cut this, and we'll get this cut. I think I'm also going to match this radius right here. We'll clean that up. Got our axle and our work platform. Now we can put our rear wheels on and see how it looks. I think that looks pretty good. Got the right height in the back. Pretty slick. So now we can, we have the axles and everything on. We can start dressing everything else up, adding a few things here and there. This is going to be a Farmall. I don't know if I told you that. We're going to paint it Farmall red. And I think this little emblem right here, this raised area on the front, that'll be a perfect like IH for International Harvester. So it's dark outside, it's supper time, so we'll be back. Okay, we're back on our pile of parts here. So I think what I'm going to do next, we'll figure out an exhaust pipe to go on here because this isn't tall enough. I think this little stud here we're going to cut down and use maybe for a little fuel cap because that's where it would be. So let's do that real quick. Okay, we got our little fuel cap on here. Got an exhaust pipe welded on here. We've got a little air breather that will epoxy up in place like that. So I saw a little item I wanted to use. Where did it go? Oh, right here. This looks like a PTO shaft. Sort of, kind of. If you can see it, it won't zoom in on it. But we're going to cut this off and put it in here for a PTO shaft. We'll make a little cover that goes over it. Let's do that. We just drilled a hole for our PTO shaft to go into there. We'll weld that on the back side. Let's make the little guard that goes over the top of it. There's our little PTO shaft. Looks pretty cool. So now we made a hitch. Farmall tractors had this kind of hitch. I just made it out of part of the bobbin cover. We just cut some out and drilled some holes in it. So we'll weld this down here underneath like this. There's our cool little hitch. So I think now we should work on a seat. So we'll probably put like a little spring deal off of here and then put a manufacturer's seat here. We'll hammer one out. There's our little tractor seat. Gonna drill some holes in it now. Got our little seat welded on. Pretty cool. So I'm gonna try to figure out what else we can do to this thing. I think what I'm gonna do is pull this front plate off. This piece here used to be for the arm that went up and down. It looked like it was stamped out of this plate, so I'll take this off and smash that back down, maybe weld up some of these holes, and then take a cutter and cut a grill into this thing maybe. All right, I think when I saw you last, we were fixing the grill. So we've added a few other things. We added a little tow hook here in the front, which they used to have to pull the tractor around. We added some detail onto the motor, just tacking stuff here and there. Little gizmos. This one even turns. Added the hydraulic lever here that the Farmalls usually have on that side. And then we left all this stuff was originally on there. But we added a little shuttle shift handle up here. We got a pedal down in there. And another pedal up in there. We got a little shift lever here. We added some stuff on the side of the motor over here. We added a flywheel pulley right there. And of course we have our hitch and PTO and everything in the back. So all I have left is to JB weld the exhaust pipe in here and our little breather thing. I put the exhaust pipe over here on the side because that's where it usually goes on a Farmall. The breather's usually up here, but just use the hole we got. But I think we're almost ready for some paint after we JB weld this thing up. I think that looks pretty slick. Seat turned out really cool. I think he's going to like it. Brought it in the house so the JB weld would cure better. Can't wait to see this thing with some paint on it. Fired up the greenhouse paint booth again because the greenhouse is the only place warm enough this time of year to paint. So we got a coat of Farmall red on it. Just got to put this thing back together once it dries, and then we'll touch up little paint. We'll do some letters and stuff. Looking good. Well, here she is all painted up and ready for delivery. We're going to take it to coffee this morning. See all the little details. All the little painted freehand. Wasn't easy. And then his last name starts with an S, so we made it a Model S. So another real fun project in the books. I'm glad I got people I can give these to, because I just can't. I've got too much stuff already. So it was nice when he asked me to build this, because it gives me a fun thing to do and I don't have to keep it laying around the shop. So hope you enjoyed this little project as much as I did. So till next time, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you guys. Come back and see us here on the farm.